Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarCraft here, back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. This time it's going to be a TVP between Hashe, I like to say Hash during cast just because it's a little bit easier to say, up in the top right side. He is going to be the Red Terran, and his opponent down the bottom left side is going to be ABomB, our blue Protoss. And looks like ABomb's asking, hey, do you remember me from back in the Brood War days? And anyways, yes, speaking of Brood War days, Hash is a player who I've cast a few times on my channel. He doesn't have any mainstream success, but he is a Grandmaster level player in Wings of Liberty, and is no doubt going to be good here in Heart of the Swarm. Now, one thing I do want to mention as well is that a lot of Terran players have been going mech lately, and I'll be quite frank, I haven't seen a lot of players actually pull it off very effectively. But you have to remember that the two new units so far that have been added for Terran are all factory units. Even before that, when they had the Warhound, they added, well, that was another factory unit. So basically, Blizzards is heavily focusing on going for viable mech builds, because you just don't see that very often in StarCraft 2. So you can see he's saying, I'm so insulted. I will say, though, that ABomb is quite a fun name to say during a cast, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And also, guys, lean in here really close. I was doing a test, and you guys remember the last time I cast, I said, hey, let's see if my roommates or my neighbors start vacuuming. Guess what? They just started vacuuming, which means they hate listening to me. And we're back here, and it does look like right now it is going to be a barracks opening here from Hash, and it does look like a Nexus first here for ABomb. So he's got to be playing it pretty greedy right now. Can't say that I exactly blame him, because given the map, given you're forced to cross spawn locate. Okay, that was a silly way of saying that. But anyways, you're pretty far away on the ground travel distance. So going to expand first build here, especially since he's saying, Hash, hey, we used to know each other, man. Don't you dare try and rush me. So he's going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Go ahead and quick expand here. Now we do see Hash has already got his gas. He's got the 3 SCVs inside. He's got the Marines on the way. So something tells me he is going to be going for a quick factory. Now, is he going to be going for quick Banshee, or is it going to be quick Hellions or Widow Mines? I mean, basically at this point as Protoss, if you scout and see a quick factory, you don't know if it's going to be which one of those three things. Now, it does look like a probe is going to be moving out to do just that. However, there is a Marine on the low ground, and actually a second Marine is going to be constructed here. It looks like right now it will be done in time before the probe actually gets there. So this probe is going to see 2 Marines, and that's actually kind of a big tell as to exactly what Hash is doing. So if he was going for an expand first build, he would probably just have the 1 Marine, if even that. And so he does know, hey, there's a barracks, number 1, and number 2, he made 2 Marines out of it. So probably not rushing towards a command center as quickly as possible, because that would be 50 additional minerals in that 1 Marine that he does not need to spend. So he's going to, I would guess, assume it's going to be a either factory or Banshee play, but at the end of the day, he wasn't able to spot inside the main base. You can see the probe here is on to something suspicious. I think that was a good read by ABomb with the 2 Marines. It's going to be enough to tell him to scout around his base to try and spot this. I wonder if the Nexus could have actually spotted this on its own. Kind of hard to tell, but either way, that bunker is going to go ahead and get canceled. That's not that big of a deal. As long as he retains both of these Marines, then it's going to be just fine. I mean, yes, he lost 25 minerals there, and I think lost the SCV that was constructing it, but as long as he keeps the Marines fine, then he's going to be okay here, because right now you can see the Mothership Core is now on the way. And the same thing kind of goes for Terran nowadays, where if you scout them and see a factory, you don't know what opening it's going to be. It's similar-ish with the Mothership Core. What do I mean by that? Well, the Mothership Core could be aggressive and take a Terran player by surprise if he doesn't have Marines out, or it can be defensive, used to turn your Nexus into a giant detection cannon. And so, you know, as a Terran player, you don't know which one it's going to be. So right now, I think, honestly, that Hash is taking a risk here by not making any more Marines, and I believe that risk is going to pay off, because now he's going to try and force the Mothership Core to stay in the main base, which it looks like it's going to do anyway here, but these Hellions are going to rush right inside the main base. Does the Stalker block it? No, the Hellions manage to squeeze on by, are going to go directly into the main base, and this is before the 6-minute mark. Very rarely will you see Hellions this fast out across the map and inside a Protoss player's base, so he is going to be getting a couple of kills here, and this may not look like game-ending damage, but so far, I mean, the Hellions haven't died, so he's been able to kill off quite a few probes for his efforts. 2 more Hellions are now here. Does he run them inside the main or go for the natural? Looks like it is going to be the natural here, so he has to try and multitask with both these Hellions. It does look like the one inside the main base will not get cleaned out. The Stalker gets distracted by the Hellions down here at the natural, so the other one is going to go unchecked, at least for a little bit. May delay a little bit of mining. Doesn't manage to get that many kills there. How many kills is it going to be in all? This Hellion does have 3. Let's take a look at the damage. 11 worker kills there. Not bad at all by any means. And 550 resources lost for our Protoss. So he is definitely behind right now. But you have to remember that he does have the expansion much earlier. So if he keeps chrono boosting out workers, he's got to be able to regain those units lost. But it does delay his tech just a little bit. Although very wisely going to be going for an observer, as we do have good unit positioning here on these Widow Mines. Basically, what this opener is trying to do, deny scouting on the first probe, get some Hellions to do some worker harass. Once you have those units out of position and the unit count low, then move the Widow Mines to your opponent's base. And right now, this Observer needs to be careful, as it did overextend to the right side a little bit too much, and the Hellions here are going to go for it right inside the main base. One of them does die from the Purify ability. It does look like these Widow Mines will get taken out, but at the same time, he was able to kill off a Stalker, able to kill off an Observer here, and he is going to be way, way ahead. Even after losing this Hellion, he's going to be in pretty good shape. Manages to get even another probe kill here, and a third Observer being constructed. I think right now there's only one on the field. Yes, there is. The second one is going to be out soon, as the first one did die. But these Hellions could kite these Zealots all day if he wants to dedicate that much APM to actually just killing off a couple of Hellions, which are killing off a couple of Zealots, excuse me. But he could lose these Hellions if he's not careful. If a Sentry, for example, comes out, could force field it, and it can basically end this Hellion harass in its tracks. The Observer here is going to spot everything that's going on. He sees, I believe, all 4 of those Hellions. So let's take a look at what's going on in Camp Hashe's base here, as he does have the Orbital Command now finally at the expansion. Is he still making workers? Yep, 2 at a time. Also has his third orbital right now, and that does mean 3 SCVs at a time if he wants to, or he could just use it for the additional energy. I do want to say that after the newest patch for Heart of the Swarm, my game does lag a little bit. You'll notice those little lag spikes here and there. I've tried changing some settings, haven't been able to figure it out, so I'll keep a close eye on that, see if I can fix that. But anyways, we do have the Mothership Core, now enough energy to use Purify once again. The Nexus, I believe, got 1 or 2 kills during that battle, which to me, it's just the weirdest thing, seeing a Nexus with kills, as if it wasn't weird enough already having a Planetary Fortress getting kills coming from Brood War into StarCraft, where basically the only attacking buildings were these defensive structures like bunkers and cannons. But now, you know, what's next? Is the Hatchery going to be able to eat air units? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see till Legacy of the Void, but it does look like right now, is that the name of it, Legacy of the Void? It does look like the 3 Hellions got to be moving out, and they do slip by the Stalkers. Stalkers do not have Blink just yet. The Mothership Core is in position here to defend, but it does look like even more worker kills about to take place here, and uses Purify on the Nexus once again. I think traps the Hellions down here. Yes, he does. Can he get a good angle to shoot again? Doesn't look like it, as the Nexus it's really showing us how well Protoss can deny harassment in the early stages of the game with that forward natural. Now, doing it in the main base might not be as effective, but either way, you can defend those kind of attacks. Now, I gotta say, one thing that a lot of players have begun doing, I would say almost even more than they used to, is walling off choke points with buildings. Now, Terran players have always been known for this because their depots can raise and lower. But to be quite honest, we've seen Protoss do it a lot more as well. And considering we have a pilot over here who might actually do that, might begin walling in this ramp right there on the low ground just to try and deny any sort of harassment from getting down there. Because you got to remember, what has he seen so far? Widow Mines and Hellions. What is good versus workers, aside from everything, is Widow Mines and Hellions. Those are the units that are quick. They can get in your mineral line and end your economy almost immediately. So I think walling in there would be a good choice, and also allows you to warp in reinforcements on the front lines. Now, he could also decide to clean out these collapsible rock tower and this collapsible rock tower and have it collapse right there, thus blocking off that entrance. And I believe when they collapse, they still have 2,000 HP. Only costs 500 HP to knock them over, so it's very easy to do that whenever you decide to. Now, we do have the Blink Stalkers going to be moving out to, it looks like, the expansion over here, and he may be trying to spread Hashe a little bit too thin. You can see Hashe does have a lot of units down here defending this location, but his natural has only got the 1 siege tank, and 1 siege tank is not too much for these units to deal with quite easily. And you can also see that, yep, there's supply depots here, that those units got very confused. The siege tank is in a good spot here, but the Blink Forward should be able to clean that one up. This guy is getting left behind, but he would probably rather prefer that, just because he's going to be on the safe side of this wall in, and it does look like the Stalker's going to take quite a bit of damage, but at the same time, they're going to be dealing quite a bit of damage. We're going to have to see exactly how this shapes up after this battle. Is this harassment going to be worth it? Because Blink Stalker's not going to be the most useful once it comes to Death Ball versus Death Ball. Those Stalkers are going to die almost immediately here. Does manage to take out the turret as well as some of this wall in, and that does mean that he can counterattack up there anytime he wants, as long as that wall in remains basically half destroyed. So let's take a look at the exact damage. It has been dealt 2,400 to 1,500. Definitely ended up being worth it. Still, the more workers have been killed by the Terran player, though. And we do have 60 probes to 67 SCVs. So I would say Hashe is still in a pretty good spot. But he's got to be missing that sweet timing that Terran players tend to go for between the, I would say, 11 and 16-minute mark, depending on what build you're going. And considering he's going mech, the longer the game goes on, does it actually favor him? That's something I'm curious to see, especially with Tempest now on the way. We do have a single Tempest being constructed. Where is that at? We do have double upgrades up here on these forges. I believe that is the 2-2. Yes, it is. The first Tempest going to be completed here in just a moment. And Tempest very, very good versus mech because, I mean, think about the units that mech has. Hellions, obviously Tempest going to be good versus that. There's the wall-in we were talking about and exactly going to be denying the harassment here. Absolutely beautiful play here by ABomB. I love to wall in at that location. I think it's a great move versus a Terran player who's going mech. Those Hellions cannot get down there, leaving Stalkers on the high ground to see if there's ever a tank issue. It does like the Hellions will eventually get cleaned out here. But anyways, the 2-2 upgrades are going to be great for Hashe, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hit that timing. He is researching the transformation servos, so he's going to be able to turn those Hellions into the battle Hellions. It does help deal with Zealots, but how do you deal with Tempest? Because all the meching units are not very good versus it, so you have to rely on Vikings, but Vikings, not quite used to this, they get outranged by Tempest. So if you micro correctly, keep the Stalkers underneath, they act sort of as like Brood Lords, where the Stalkers are acting as the Infestors, and you try and just protect those units as long as you possibly can. Using Mass Viking is going to be difficult. The Widowmine not able to reach it either, and it does like a blink forward once again. Double siege tanks getting taken out here, and you can see the tanks basically get one shot by these Stalkers, but here come a lot of units to clean this up. But at the same time, the SCVs themselves are getting cleaned up. Not a good spot to be in. Workers killed 23 to 15 right now, so that is definitely going to be favoring ABomB right now, as he is going to be in the lead, I would say, for the first time in this game, because he was a little bit behind after that harassment, but now that he's securing a fourth base, now that he has secured his third base very safely, and he has 3 Tempests on the way. Here's one. The other 2 are being produced up here right now, as well as Psystorm. So this is going to be about as tier 3 as it gets. Psystorm and Tempest. I don't know how he's actually affording to do this off of 3 bases, but you can see his supply is suffering because of it, because he is relying on such high tier units, such high-tech research, even working on the +1 air weapons for those Tempests, making him that much more powerful. Now, right now, Hashe is actually in a pretty good spot here. Yes, he doesn't have much anti-air, but he has enough tanks to just blast down this front door. He could push in to the expansion, but Zealot Legs should be done. Yes, it is, and Zealot Legs is basically the demise of meching, as well as Immortals. Archons are pretty good. You don't normally see Psystorm. You used to see Psystorm back in the Brood War days versus Terran, whether they went bio or mech, although 99% of the time they did go mech. And Psystorm was still pretty good because the you could stack the storms, and also the spread on the storms was much more potent. So it does look like the front wall in has been taken out. The Hellions just kind of try and beat their way to doing some sort of economic damage. Does he have Blue Flame? Yes, he does, but can he kill off the probes? The answer is no. The Siege Tank's definitely going to get taken out here by the Tempest. It doesn't matter if they have the Gravity Sling or not, because they're not attacking massive units here. There are enough of them, though, to clean up these siege tanks. They are going for quite a few probes here, so it is a nice little touch here to try and basically warrant the amount of units he's going to lose, and will kill off a couple last Stalkers. I mean, Tempests don't do a lot of DPS, but at the same time, if they're not getting attacked, they're going to clean up those siege tanks just as good as any other unit. Now, ABomB has secured himself now in the lead. He does have 4 Tempests on the way. He's got the 1-1 on the way for air, almost something you never see happen for Protoss, especially in this matchup. But we have seen players use them a lot more because you don't need the Fleet Beacon to begin constructing Tempests. He does have a 4th Stargate now, so he should be able to skyrocket in the supply as long as he has that 4th base up, which he does. He's got probes now, got to be going inside that gas, so he's going to be able to continue this Tempest production quite easily, which puts him in a very interesting position, because normally you do not see this many Tempests. But I'm kind of curious, you know, Mass Marine, for example, could counter these Tempests. Mass Viking, I don't actually know how the metagame shapes up for this current stage of the game. It does look like that poor Thor, though, getting caught out of position, unable to do that much commitment damage there before losing that unit. And it does look like the Siege Tanks, once again, will get taken out, but is able to at least kill off a couple of these Zealots. The Stalkers as well. These Siege Tanks don't even care. They're just going to try and march right in here with the 2-2. We don't see 3-3 on the way. There's the Storm, but he is going to kill off 2 Eye Templar, it looks like, and kills the Pylon, trying to warp in more units there. We finally have a Fleet Beacon on the way, but at the same time, Hashe has managed to actually do a surprising amount of economic damage, just ignoring that Tempest Cloud but how long can you actually ignore it? Because they will attack you from afar. This expansion right here did get harassed. I believe it was by those stalkers before a lot of them got taken out here. But you got to remember that taking a look at ABomb's units tab, 11 Tempest and a single Zealot. So if Hashe figures out the counter to Tempest, then he basically wins any upcoming battle whatsoever, because all that's on the field are Tempest. We have 7 Vikings being produced at a time. Oh my god, that is... There should be another Stargate right somewhere. There it is right there. 7 Vikings at a time. There's going to be that gravity sling to try and clean up those units. And these Hellions found a weakness in the defense. These poor probes, he's lining them up. Got to try and take them out. Nice split on those probes. The Hellions actually splitting up as well. But the probes really don't have anywhere to run. You can see the wall in actually trapping them inside. And it does look like right now the Hellion's trying to get up there, but he was focused on something else. Does manage to take out a High Templar, though. The other ones are going to morph into Archons. And these probes, very vulnerable. You can see right here, Stalkers coming to save the day. But at the same time, can ABomb actually do enough damage with these Tempests? Because the Viking count, I mean, it's getting pretty darn high. 7 at a time. You're going to be able to get them very quickly. This is only 2 waves of those Vikings. 14, adding up 7 more. Does he have 7 to follow it up? Yes, he does. Needs to save the planetary, though. Not enough SCVs repairing it. All these SCVs need to begin repairing it. There's no reason to lose this planetary, but it does go down. He's going to have to rebuild that one, but here's the Vikings. Can he take out all the Tempests? I think that he can. The Vikings should actually fly directly into the Tempest just to make sure they cannot retreat right now, but it does look like the majority of the Tempests will get taken out. The Vikings, though, are engaging straight on as opposed to running directly into them. There he goes. He does finally get close here, realizing exactly what he needs to do to take these down. Does he have enough Vikings here? I don't know, but this should be cost-effective for Hashe, although so far it doesn't look like it is, as he hasn't been able to tie up that unit's loss tab just yet. And there's the mass recall, taking them away, and the Tempest is like, hey guys, where are y'all going? Oh, they're going back here to save these probes, but how many probes have actually been killed? 78 workers killed to 39, so Hashe has the economic advantage, but I would say ABomb still has a tech advantage. I believe now he has the 3-3 upgrades done. He's got the Tempest, he's got the Archons, but he definitely does not have the supply advantage. As you can see, the army supply relatively even, but 10 more workers here for Hashe. However, I gotta say that was a bit sloppy on Hashe's part for losing that expansion, just because he didn't really need to. He could have easily repaired it. Tempests are not going to burn down the workers like Storm or something like that. We do have Widow Mines up here going to be doing damage to these Stalkers, but he does manage to force the cancel there, kills off a couple of SCVs, and is doing everything he can, because you got to remember that while he may be behind right now, it's not going to be for long if he stays on 4 bases while his opponent is only on 3, and Hashe only mining on 2 of those bases, almost down just to the single base, because this, look, I mean, they're getting out of money here. Each of these mineral patches has like 9 million harvesters apiece, and it does look like the Stalkers trying to get away. They are actually focusing down the Widow Mines, but guess what? Widow Mines are good versus Observers. Do manage to take that one out. These Stalkers have been almost invaluable throughout this game. Do they have lots of kills? Yep, 4 kills, 4 kills, 2 kills. 2 kills and a single kill on the other 2 remaining ones. So they have definitely paid for themselves at this point, but careful of these Widow Mines right here. They're in a pretty good spot. And you got to remember that even Tempests, they can get taken out by the Widow Mines. If there's no detection spotting for these Tempests, it doesn't matter if the Tempest is flying over them, because it's going to get taken out by those Widow Mines. So if for some reason ABomb decides to move out with detection, that could spell disaster for him. And you can see more Tempests are going to be on the way. Widow Mines on the way. Here is the Hellbats. I always call them Battle Hellions just because I feel like that makes a lot more sense than the name Hellbat. It's just slightly confusing even for me. But we do have cannons down here going to be defending this location. A possibility of a 5th base here for ABomb, which is exactly what he needs. Oh, Command Center going to get planted there at the same time. Unfortunately, the SCV was not in there down there in time. I think securing this base up here is probably the wiser choice. The center bases are very, very difficult to defend, and it does look like this SCV got scouted by that watchtower. The SCV is like, hey, wait a second, there's a Nexus. Oh, God, behind enemy lines. Does manage to get that taken out. I also want to mention, if you guys haven't been able to tell, I actually did sleep finally, so hopefully my casts make a little bit more sense. I'm not begging for 5,000 upvotes. Not upvotes, that's some Reddit stuff right there. Anyways, we have the Tempest Death Ball. Mixed in are some Archons. We got the Zealots, Stalkers as well. So could be a pretty good maneuver here for ABomb to go ahead and move out as soon as he's maxed out. It does look like these Stalkers will actually manage to take out no, don't take out the Hellions there, but 2 casualties. But that's going to be getting the army out of position. Here's the Battle Hellions trying to absorb as much damage as they possibly can. You got to remember that they're actually surprisingly effective versus Zealots, but not versus anything else. I can't believe we're still seeing Storm out of ABomb. You almost never see that versus a meching Terran, so pretty exciting stuff for us to see. There's the counterattack with the Zealots. This is exactly how you have to play out this matchup, as Terran or excuse me, as Protoss try and get to the late game and then do lots of counterattacks with the Zealots. There they go. They're going to be slicing through these SCVs. Might be able to kill off every single one. The Widowmine's not in a position to be able to defend that, and guess what? The planetary, or whatever command center was here, was forced to lift off. Every single SCV here gets taken out. The Zealots eventually getting cleaned up by these Widowmines. But this Zealot right here, somehow the Boss Toss unit himself not only survived the Widowmine onslaught, but is now trying to kill a command center with his good old friend on this side, and might actually be able to kill it out here, as I don't know if Hashe can actually recover from this. While he has a lot of stuff, his upgrades aren't the greatest. He's only got +1 attack on his Vikings. He's working on getting 6 more. His siege tanks are only at 2-2 now, which while he did get that 2-2 early, he hasn't been able to follow it up with a 3-3. I love saying 2-2. It makes me feel like a little girl. Down the bottom right side, though, you can see this expansion is now up and running, going to be giving another economic advantage to ABomB. Take a look at the income tab. You can see he's ahead in the gas and in the mineral account, but has a lot of workers, and that's exactly why that's happening. Production tab, though, does show 3 SCVs at a time for ABomB. I think he's realizing, hey, I've got to start securing these outwardly expansions. I need to try and deny my opponent these expansions, but I definitely like the unit composition here. We have Vikings, Widowmines, and Siege Tanks, and that is it. The Siege Tank here going to try and clean up these Zealots, but at the same time, I mean, really, the Protoss player is a little bit out of position here, so ABomB needs to make sure to either get a good flank attack on this or go for the kill himself and try and base race it, because this base is getting taken out very, very quickly. Can ABomB actually, I didn't realize this, but Hashe's macro is pretty good. He's already re-maxed out. I didn't think he'd get the maxed out that quickly, but storms on the Vikings. You got to be careful there. While his macro may be good, his micro has got to not fail him right here, because he needs these Vikings to kill off these Tempests. Here comes some more storms. Can he dodge them? Yes, he does. He's got to get a good angle, because the Tempests are going to be forcing the engagement right here. Down goes the storms. Manages the storms the Widowmines here as well, so that's going to be helping out by quite a bit. Although I think he wants to bait these Tempests over the Widowmines. Are they going to fall for it? Yes, they are. Getting dangerously close. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. It does take a lot of them, but oh my god, it kills every single one but one, as he baited him into that Widow minefield. And you got to remember that Widow mines attack air, they attack cloak units. They are good versus everything if the army wanders a little bit too close. There's the storm right there, as he does now know exactly where these are, and does finally manage to clean those up. Decides to go for some Archons here. These Hellions running past the cannons. I believe that the Tempest is going to be able to clean these up easily, but I thought for sure Hashe was out of this game, but now he's back in it. He's ready to go. He's ready to rumble. Will be able to kill off these 2 gateways again, as well as the pylons. Not that big of a deal, as he needs to deal with the army for the most part, although I don't know if continued Tempest and High Templar production is the best choice. But, you know, it is still a very viable unit composition. You gotta remember, storms are good versus any clumped up units like the Hellions and the Vikings, and the Tempest can outrange everything else. So if you can play it out perfectly, it can work. It is a bit of a stretch, but there's no denying that late game Protoss has the most tier 3 units in the game, which means you have the most versatility in the late game, which means definitely don't count them out just yet. But the Widow Mines are close to this army. We'll be able to do quite a bit of damage before they expel those charges and have to sit back and recharge. It does look like they all got cleaned up now, as the Observer is in position. The Viking count not high enough, I feel like, right now. So all of a sudden, Hashe's supply has plummeted here. These siege tanks, unfortunately, cannot see far enough to take out these buildings right now. But it does look like both players are kind of squirming around a little bit, trying to figure out exactly how to go about the next couple of minutes, because it has been 32 minutes of almost non-stop action in this game. This is actually a really, really, really good Hard the Swarm game. I got to hand it to both of these players, as they are making a highly entertaining game for us. We do have a 6th base on the way, although really it's just going to be replacing the 5th base that was taken out by these units down here. Those units still have not been cleaned out, and these probes are going to get taken out here by these Widow Mines and siege tanks as well, able to clean it up. So trying to transfer those workers to somewhere he thought was safe, but guess what? They are not. So if these units transfer from this location up to here, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. It does look like the Widow Mine is going to get spotted. Uh-oh, these Hellions may be able to even the score if it wasn't evened already, and it does look like the Hellions trying to chase down these probes. He did indeed line them up. Can he chase them anymore? No, it looks like the Tempest is going to have the final say here, but a lot of workers have been killed overall, though Hashe still behind in the units lost. Look at the amount of workers killed this game. 110 by ABomB, 126 by Hashe. That is 236 workers. Yes, I'm pretty good at addition. Killed in this game. That is the most out of almost any game I've seen, which is why this doesn't feel like a 34-minute game, because it's non-stop. Here he goes, got to be killing off even more probes. and it is a little bit difficult to kill them off with the cannons here, not only because the cannons are killing off the Hellions, but the Hellions instinctively attack the cannons just because that is how they're programmed. They are not programmed to attack the probes first out if there's something attacking them, but he still was able to do lots of damage. And taking a look here, 110 now and 137 workers killed. Absolutely just ridiculous. These Widow Mines activated on something, not quite sure what it was. I don't know if 3 Widow Mines is enough to do substantial damage to this Tempest Cloud, but we shall see if the Viking production is going to be high enough to deal with that, because basically what it comes down to right now is, yes, the Vikings will be good versus the Tempest, but guess what's good versus Vikings? Psystorm and Archon. So if they get too clumped up, then that could be it. Although this could also be it. If he ends up losing too many more probes here, it may be almost unrecoverable. And yes, he does indeed lose quite a few. Gets those last 2 as they try to retreat. And let's just take a look at the workers killed. 149. The real question is are we going to break 200 probes killed in a single game? I don't think I've ever seen that in any game. I don't even know if I've ever seen 150. But such an epic game so far, I must say. Very, very close. I love how both players are utilizing all the Heart of the Swarm units to the best of their ability. I don't know if we still have a Mothership core on the field, but he could actually go for Mothership itself. The main problem being that Mothership's not great versus Vikings unless he can throw down that Vortex. But that's why we love StarCraft, Max. It's all about unit control. I mean, unit composition is also important, but if he did have a Mothership, it would just come down to that unit control. And right now, I mean, both players are kind of stuck at 144 supply. They're trying to get enough money, trying to scrape together enough workers here to get a decent income. This income is not even that great considering how late this game is. Take a look at that. Only 39 workers for Terran, 28 for probes. That's something you expect to see at like the 8-minute mark or something like that. But 6 probes on the way at a time. Where is that rally point set to? I believe that they're all going to be set to here. Yes, they are. So he's going to be able to saturate that almost immediately, as he does have a lot of probes headed on down that way. But at this point, I honestly don't know who to pick as a winner. I mean, I honestly thought Hashe was out of the game several times, but he's managed to claw his way back in. Hasn't been able to start that 3-3 just because he doesn't have enough money, but his harassment has just been phenomenal. This Zealot trying to take out a planetary, not a good idea, as that expansion is really the only mining one for Hashe, although the one up here has most of its mineral patches here, but not for long. The Zealot keeps hacking away at all these SCVs. A couple Hellions should be able to clean that one up, but he has managed to get several kills, up to 4 kills right now, and will eventually get taken out. But at the same time, that's also going to give ABomB the position he needs to begin locking down that expansion. But you also got to remember, the Observer spotting those Widow Mines means that it's going to show the it's going to show Hashe exactly where this Protoss army is at. That's why he's able to scan there, see everything that kind of remains. Right now, he is going to decide to sack the expansion, go for a kill on his opponent's own expansion, and see if that's going to pay off here. Hopefully for him, he doesn't lose that first tank. Doesn't look like he will, but he needs to keep the Vikings alive. It is all going to come down to the Vikings, and there's really no other way to put it. If he loses these Vikings, he loses the game. If he kills the Tempest with the Vikings, he's going to be in good shape. And it does look like the Widow Mines managing to kill off all those Archons in a beautifully placed Widow Mine field here. Basically what he's doing here is using them to protect his flank, so he is going to be able to protect himself from that. And this is something that's very frustrating as Protoss here, is you have to position your observers absolutely perfect. I wouldn't be surprised if they added an observer sight range upgrade. I think they used to have that back in the Brood War days, just because you need it to be able to spot these Widow Mines. And here comes the Tempest. The back and forth kind of ebb and flow battle that we're about to witness here could all come down to a couple of Psystorms, although EMPs would be beautiful right now. But it does look like these Widow Mines not going to activate today. The 2 up north, though, they will. At least it looks like they will. And the Siege Tank's got to get taken out. The Battle Hellions not able to do the damage that they need to the Zealots, but as I mentioned before, it's all about the Vikings. He manages to get those away. Battle Hellions right here, killing off probes. Unfortunately, they were not in their normal Hellion form. Hellbat, they're called Hellbats. I'm still probably going to call them Battle Hellions, just because that makes a lot more sense in my brain. But it does look like the Tempest right now going to be quite useful. I mean, they're still at the 2-2 upgrades. They have the 1 shield upgrade as well, which is benefiting those Templar, but more importantly, the Archons. So it always reminds me that it looks like a little baby Archon in the Tempest, like right in this little area. It's like they picked up a little Archon and tell it to shoot things, which that would be a pretty cool mechanic. But the expansion up here is the most vulnerable. The Vikings, though, do show up, and they take out 1 Tempest. You gotta remember, Tempests have 450 total HP if you take into account those shields. So that is a lot of damage that has to be dealt out. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind, is that, yeah, with a lot of Vikings you can kill them, but they just have so much HP. So is it better to go for more harassment here? It does look like these Zealots will get cleaned up quite easily, as the Hellions, of course, designed to kill off light units. and want to kill that last Zealot right there. No, he doesn't want to force the probes away. A beautiful choice, but at the same time, with Storms going down on the repairing SCVs, that could be it for expansion number, well, I almost want to call it expansion number 1, because these are the only 3 mineral patches that Hash is going to be mining from. And now he is going to fall way behind in the supplies, and it doesn't get the shot off there that he needed. But yeah, if he doesn't have the income, how is he going to build up an army? It's simply impossible. So what he needs to do here, I feel like, once these 3 Thors are out, he needs to attack. That's going to be his last-ditch effort. There's nothing that he can do after that. I mean, even these 2 mineral patches are going to be mined out almost immediately, especially with these mules here. So getting out those 3 Thors and then just going for it, following it up with a couple of Hellions, I think is the only option for him right now. Maybe save that money for another command center, but at this time, he should probably just float the one over here. Looks like he actually has one floating over there. Yep, I believe that was the natural command center. But I think sitting back right now is actually a big mistake, just because his opponent is going to be mining. Although he has done substantial economic damage, so he's not going to be mining all that much, but it is going to be higher than the Terran. You can see how quickly that the Terran's income is plummeting, especially now that these mineral patches are disappearing. This mineral patch is going to disappear in about 5 seconds, because these mules are going to finish it off, and goodbye mineral patch there. So that's going to be his last mining spot, just the 2 up here. So I think just going for it's going to be the correct choice. He does have 3 more Thors on the way, so maybe waiting for those is the better choice. But either way, I mean, he's kind of running on fumes right now. And you got to remember that ABomB knows it. He knows that he has expansions while his opponent doesn't. And even if he doesn't spot this expansion landing right away, he's going to know this is exactly what Hash is going to try and do. Now, does he have a perfect feeling of how the game is going? I mean, it's hard to tell when you're in the heat of things. But right now, these Zealots are going to be spotting this expansion. The whole army is going to be moving out right now, and we are going to be seeing the final clash of these 2 players here in just a moment. It does look like this orbital command might actually get taken out as well, and losing the orbital command itself is in no way an okay thing for Hash, because now he's only going to have 2 command certs. He's going to have to refly one over there, and even if he long-distance mines, it's going to be some of the long-distance mining we've ever seen. So he's just got to go for it. He's got his Thors, he's bringing the SCVs, and does he have any mineral income at all? Just these 2 mules mining, so I think this is it. He is sending everything he's got. He's just got to try and make this work. As long as he keeps the Vikings alive, then he has basically the ability to win this game. But if these High Templar go unchecked, it is going to be all over. And now that both players are hurting on the economy, they're just got to go for it. Here we go, swinging in with all the units, side storms on the Thors. But of course, Thors have enough energy or life to be able to absorb that. The feedbacks are what's most important here, because that's going to be the majority of the damage. But Tier 3 Protoss is just too strong. Maybe it's too strong. It's currently 40 supply to 107. I don't think he can actually kill off everything